What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Joseph, and welcome to Fiction Ink Flow. It is the end of Black History Month, and I have a treat for you today. I'm going to give you a nice in-depth view of all of my pops for Black History Month. Starting on first is a character that I've loved since I found out about this character. He is from an offshoot of DC, which is called Milestone Comics, which was created several years ago. And Milestone was created by a guy named Dwayne McDuffie, one of the founders of Milestone Comics. And he had all these characters come out, him and a couple other people that joined with him, all these African American characters. They built this whole universe, and he ended up selling it or partnering with DC to put the books out. And so one of the main characters that stood out was a character called Static Shock. He had a really cool cartoon back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I would say it was a pretty popular cartoon, and that's how a lot of people found out about it when they did read the comics. But they made a Funko Pop out of him, and here is Static Shock. Really cool character. He has electromagnetic powers. He can change things and use electricity in multiple ways. He actually eventually became a member of the Justice League. This is a Hot Topic exclusive. Usually exclusive, sometimes glow in the dark or have something special about him. Nothing special about this particular pop except that it's Static Shock himself. And it's kind of a cool character to see turned into a pop, and I'm glad they did it. Next character going along with this electric theme is a really popular X-Men character. A female character known as Storm. She has been leader of the X-Men for several years. One time wife of Black Panther. She has always been a really forward-thinking character. She has had several books outside of the X-Men and have her own independent comic book, and many of those where she's done things outside of different groups or helping other groups or lost mutants. So this is the Storm from the X-Men movie from the Fox series. Or this is like Halle Berry as Storm. Another very popular X-Men character. And the one thing that's really cool about her is that her powers is like unlike any that I've heard of before. The ability to control and manipulate the weather. So not only does she have lightning and the ability to fly, she can control all weather patterns. One of the most popular things that I saw years ago in one of her books where the X-Men were stranded in Antarctica. So it was Cyclops, Professor X, and Storm. They were on this mission. They were returning. And there was this big storm that hit, and it caused their ship, the Blackbird, to fall. And they were stuck there and stranded for several hours. And it showed that Storm was using all of her power to keep them warm. Because once again, in this harsh climate, it took everything out of her to not have them freeze to death. Because they were like really struggling. And she did this for several hours. She passed out after it several times actually. But it just shows the strength of her magnitude of being able to control the weather. Alright, this next character is a fan favorite from the Avengers. This is Rhodey, better known as War Machine. So War Machine is Iron Man's best friend. He kind of hung out with him when he came back and kind of invented the costume. And he took a liking to Rhodey, and they kind of had this buddy friendship. And he developed his own suit for him called War Machine. And so War Machine is like a separate suit from the Iron Man suit, in the fact that it has more armor and it has more weaponry into it. So it's more outgoing and showing of weaponry, but it doesn't have as much tech as the Iron Man suit. So this is an Amazon exclusive of War Machine and from Avengers Infinity War. These are some of the different ones in the back. But I love this because it's in that quantum realm suit that they wore, all the Avengers wore when they were getting ready to go retrieve all the stones. Alright, a fan favorite from the DC universe again, jumping back, is a character who's been around since like the early 80s. And that is Victor Stone, otherwise known as Cyborg. Cyborg has always been a fan favorite due to his like mixture of human and robotic parts. He has a really interesting backstory where he was a football star and athlete in high school, and this big explosion happened. His father, who worked at his tech company, decided the only way to save his son's life was to kind of merge the tech that he was using with him. Cyborg actually has a mother box in his chest. It's something that the DC villain Darkseid uses to transport people back and forth from his home world, Apocalypse. This version of Cyborg is from a special episode of Teen Titans Go called The Night Begins to Shine. It's based off of an 80s band called BER, and it was Cyborg was obsessed with the song and the band, and he got transformed along with the other Titans into these like 80s rock style punk characters. But a lot of people liked that particular episode because it just showed a different version of Cyborg and the Teen Titans. This is the Teen Titans Go version of Cyborg from The Night Begins to Shine. This is a Toys R Us exclusive. Sad thing, Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore, and I was able to get this pop right before Toys R Us closed out. And so this pop actually glows in the dark. Like his axe that he's carrying glows and part of his face glows. It's really cool and it's hard to find. Moving right along, I'm going to now start with some of my pops that I have multiple versions of characters. One of the most popular versions of Spider-Man right now is Miles Morales. Everything from Into the Spider-Verse to the video game, like everybody's really loving Miles and his different spin on the Spider-Man franchise. So this first pop is the very first Spider-Man Miles Morales pop that was ever made. This is from an exclusive Marvel's Collector's Core. And if you notice with this particular pop, that they kind of gave him something that's different than some of the other ones. They gave him these eyeballs. So you notice the mask is usually flat in the eye section, but this one they have kind of like eyeballs added to it. This was the very first Miles Morales pop from the Marvel Collector Core series. I really like this because it was the first design of him. Next is Miles Morales from Into the Spider-Verse. And I'll be quite honest, I didn't like this pop at first that much because the look of it didn't really stand out to me, but I grew to love it. It's the part when Miles finally realizes that Spider-Man, Peter Parker, has passed away in his world, and he's going to this big memorial where Mary Jane is giving his eulogy. And so he gets a costume from a little store, and Stan Lee is actually the retailer of the store. And that was a really touching moment in Into the Spider-Verse. And he has this really almost too young for him like costume, and it's really funny because they have the cape and everything. But I thought at first I was like, I'm not too sure about this, but I ended up liking it. So this is one of the different costumes from Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse. And one of the main things I like it is a little squished up mask because his face is shown. He hasn't truly gotten into the role of being Spider-Man yet. He's just like, looking at what's going on, and he remembered what happened, that Peter basically saved his life. Now this one is my absolute favorite version of Miles Morales. This is another Into the Spider-Verse pop, and it's the one from him when he finally realizes who he is, and he's like taking on the powers that he has truly believed, and he has taken a leap of faith to be Spider-Man. And I know that in the movie I loved it when the song came on. It was like, "What's Up, Danger?" and him running across the building and swinging and just realizing his full potential now. So this is that Miles leaping, and that's why I love this pop, because it's him leaping in the air. He has on the full costume, well his version of the costume with the hoodie and the Jordans on. I love this version. This is a PX Previews exclusive Funko Pop. So this was not normally in stores, this is from the PX Previews magazine. Coming up are two pops that are both exclusive. So one is an Amazon exclusive and the other is a Walmart exclusive. So the first one is from Amazon, and it's Sam Wilson as Captain America. So it was a whole series of pops that came out called Year of the Shield, and it's different characters wielding the shield and have different little versions of them. So this is the Captain America pop, Sam Wilson from Captain America and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I love the detail on the shield because it's like he's protecting, and it's like these little yellow sparks are coming off, so it's like something shooting at him. But it's a really cool pop, and it is an Amazon exclusive. You may be able to still find it if you look really hard, but it's from a series called Year of the Shield. Again, Amazon exclusive. All right, the Walmart exclusive is my favorite version of Sam as Captain America, because in this one his wings are expanded, and I really like how they did that in this particular pop. This is a Walmart exclusive version of Captain America from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier with the wingspan. He's carrying a shield. The wings are in full bloom. I just love how this looks. It's still a really popular scene from the TV show on Disney Plus. If you have not watched The Falcon and Winter Soldier, I guarantee you will love it. You must check that series out. This pop is from a series of mine that's an AMC series. Started off as a comic book though, called The Walking Dead. The series started off really good. It has some changes, but I know they're getting ready for their final season of the show now. So one of the characters on there that I absolutely love with their introduction was King Ezekiel. This guy kind of was taking over an area, and he kind of had made it like almost like a perfect utopia. He had everything laid out. People were working together. They had water, food. And like, how is he able to run this area with all these Walking Dead around? But he managed it. And the interesting part is that starting out, he was like not a really popular person. He was actually a guard at a zoo, and he watched over the areas with the tigers. Another thing that makes him really popular is that he is an actor. So by him taking up acting and actually watching over the tigers, he just got into this role. He decided to present himself as a leader, but since he wasn't a leader in the real world, he's like, well, now's my opportunity to step up. And he has people believe in him, and that's why he has become like this popular person named called King Ezekiel, because he watches over things and he manages it really well. So this is King Ezekiel. I love the detail on the front of this pop on the box because it has little blood splattered hands. Looks like the Walking Dead have been there. And that's always really been really interesting and cool about some of these casings of the Funko Pops. Fun fact, the actor Payton, who plays King Ezekiel in The Walking Dead, also does the voice of Cyborg in Teen Titans Go and most of the Justice League cartoons. So I got to meet him once, and it was a really good pleasure to meet him, and I had to take a picture with him. I had my pop with me, and it was really cool. He was like, oh, this is a really awesome thing that you have here. And it was really nice seeing him and just sharing and chit-chatting for a little while. All right. Now, as a Chicagoan, born and raised, I could not let this series go by without featuring one of my favorite NFL players, Walter Payton. So the Bears at that time, the Super Bowl winning Bears, that was one of the best times they were around. Funko has made several pops based off of NFL, MLB, and NBA players. So I was really stoked when I saw this pop of one of my favorite Bears players, Walter Payton. This is just the old school 85 Bears, Walter Payton doing his thing. And if you're new to the Bears or not really familiar with them from this time period, when they won the Super Bowl, they had this song called the Super Bowl Shuffle. You should look it up. It is funny and it's hilarious, but that song used to play all the time once they won the Super Bowl. On the radio, on TV, everywhere you can hear it. And people just drive down the street, and Chicago would stand up proud once we had that Super Bowl trophy that year. All right, these next two pops are something from my somewhat childhood. Actually, when I was in high school, there was a popular hip-hop group that came out called Kid and Play. And they had this movie called House Party. And they were really, they had a really different style to them. It was like a blending of some pop and like old school stuff as well as hip-hop. So they were known for these dances, right? Where they would do this dance that was kind of like a Charleston. They would do this thing with their feet and they would kick and jump over it all the time. Now, I used to always practice it, but I never got it down. But if you ever look up a clip of them, like the Kid and Play dance, you will see that. And people used to love and practice doing that all the time. So the first one is Kid, and he was known for having the high top fade. This box-like style, really tall. And I know it seems funny now, but trust me, back in the 90s, this was the hairstyle to get it. And I did have a high top fade at the time, you can believe it. I never got one as tall as Kid, but I did have a nice little high top fade. And then the other one is Play. All right, and so once again, Kid and Play, this hip hop duo with their Funko Pops. And the name of their album was called Too Hype, and this is what the album cover looked like. It was them doing their famous dance move. Each of them had different shirts on. Kid had on the 2 and Play had on the Hype. So that's why they kind of recreated this album cover in this Funko Pop style. Alright, I could not get to the end of this without mentioning, of course, the man, the legend himself, Black Panther. So I have several Black Panther pops. So the first one I want to show you is the one that came out from Marvel's Civil War with Captain America. That was the first time Black Panther debuted in the MCU. And this was a hard to find pop because it was a Walgreens exclusive. You could only get it from Walgreens. So I would look in my neighborhood and they were always sold out. I never found one. I just happened to be downtown Chicago and I went to this Walgreens and they had 3 on the shelf. And so I just grabbed it real quick because I could not believe one was actually in the store. And this is the Walgreens exclusive version of Black Panther. So unmasked, all right? And his beard is kind of like faded a little bit, like he just came from the barber shop. Maybe he hung out with Luke Cage or something. But he has a nice little faded beard on him on this one. Okay. So Black Panther from the Marvel Civil War series. Next is the Black Panther from the Black Panther movie. So this was when the movie came out, and then once again, everybody was trying to get these pops as well. I knew they would be big. And I happened to be in a Target and I found 3 of them at one time. So of course I bought all 3 right then and there. So the first, of course, is the Black Panther. Now this was a little different. He's unmasked as well. But if you look, the costume has a little bit more detail on it. His beard is a little more full, as well as his hairstyle has changed slightly. So I like this version as well. And I can almost just play over the scene in my head when he has his mask off and he's walking. This is when he came back after Killmonger thought he was dead and he was getting ready to challenge him. And that's where they got this still for make this pop from. Next up is Shuri, Black Panther's younger sister, who is the tech genius of Wakanda. She handles all major tech issues and oversees everything in the tech department. And this is the scene of her when she was fighting Killmonger alongside Nakia. So she had her battle gauntlets on that she invented, and she's getting ready to use those in her full makeup and battle robe. And of course, the last one in that particular series is Killmonger himself. All right, you know, you love to hate him. He played the perfect villain. This is all due to Michael B. Jordan's good acting and Ryan Coogler's directing. But he really, to me at the time, showed what a true villain should look like. Like, to me, no other villain topped him with just his cunning, his intelligence, his being diabolical. It just all fit. It was all so perfect. And Michael B. Jordan even talked about after this role was over, he had to go to therapy, kind of like talk through some of this because it kind of really affected him being in this role for so long because he did such an excellent job at it. He totally embodied the Killmonger character. This is Eric Killmonger from the Black Panther movie. And just every time I see him in this scene, particularly I just think about the scene like, is this your king? And just get hyped up when they had to get that ready for that waterfall fight. So now I have a couple of special pops for you. They're still following along in the Black Panther series. But a couple of years ago, I got to go to a C2E2, another comic convention here in Chicago, and Christopher Priest was there. For those of you who don't know, Christopher Priest worked with Marvel for years. He wrote on the Black Panther book for a long time. He created the Dora Milaje. He also kind of created the character Nakia. And so I got to meet him and talk to him for a little while. I had several books. I had him signed of mine, but I also got him to sign some Funko Pops. So the very first one is the one of Nakia from the Black Panther movie, and he has a signature right across the front. And he was like really thrilled to see it because he had not seen this pop yet. He had been on set on the movie. He talked about, you know, working with Ryan Coogler, working with Chadwick Boseman, and how everything was just really cool and how Chadwick did a really good job staying in character even off camera. He shared some amazing stories with me, and it really was an honor to meet him and talk with him. Now this next one is what's called Classic Black Panther. So when he first appeared, actually in the Fantastic Four, he had a mini cape. So his costume was a little different. It wasn't the tech costume we know now that just kind of goes on him, but it still was from vibranium, but it was a costume he had to put on entirely. And this is the original version of Black Panther. And I found this pop at Target, and and I made sure like I had to have Christopher Priest sign it, because this was one of the original versions of Black Panther. Okay, this was in 2018, so this was a while ago. That's when I met him at C2E2. Okay, the last two in the series are from the Marvel What If recent episodes on Disney Plus. So there were two that really stood out. One is what if Killmonger won? Instead of T'Challa becoming Black Panther, Killmonger actually became Black Panther. That was a really different introspective episode that I'm sure they're going to address more of in season 2, because the episode kind of left us hanging. It didn't really give us a full ending. So I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's more to be told to that story. But this is what they call King Killmonger from the Marvel's What If episode on Disney Plus. And if you can see, he's holding a small Ultron bot head in his hand. So in this particular episode, Killmonger worked with Tony Stark to kind of help develop technology and armor, and he took over and did a lot of things. I won't say, I don't want to give too much away, but he became the ruler of Wakanda instead of T'Challa. And last but not least is for one of the last acting jobs of Chadwick Boseman in the role of T'Challa in the Marvel's What If Disney Plus series. And this was episode 2, and it was called What If T'Challa became Star-Lord. In this episode, instead of the Ravagers coming to pick up Peter Quill, they went and picked up T'Challa instead, and he became Star-Lord. I really like this version because they show how T'Challa played the role differently. Like how instead of being like this silly guy and like not unknown, like kind of almost like a buffoon of the universe as Peter Quill was, T'Challa played it totally different. So I really like the twist in this episode where T'Challa became Star-Lord and he became more of a legend, and people wanted to work for him and people knew him throughout the galaxy, and he was a highly sought out character. So this is the What If version of T'Challa Star-Lord. This is another pop that's kind of like shows him moving and leaping up. He's kind of flying using those star boots. And it comes with an actual little stand. That's why I like the leaping pops, because they give you a stand to put them on. T'Challa Star-Lord from What If Disney Plus. Alright, and those have been my Funko Pops for Black History Month featuring all African American characters. But I want to leave you with one treat. So Marvel has a series called Marvel Legends, and it's like they're kind of big action figures, and I found one of Black Panther a while ago, and I've kept this close to my heart because I know this happened right before I found out about his passing. So of course all these things went up in price. But this is the Black Panther Marvel Legends series from the movie. And you may see there's a small little head in there, and there are 6 figures in this particular series, and if you get all 6 figures, you can build your own Okoye. So each figure comes with one piece. The T'Challa Black Panther version comes with the head. So each figure you buy has a piece to build Okoye. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, a comment, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. And I'll catch you next time. Peace! We are talking about fiction equals flow. What's up? If you don't have it, you are truly missing. Fiction equals flow. What's up? We are talking about fiction equals flow. What's up? If you don't have it, you are truly missing. Fiction equals flow.